Okay, good morning. Welcome to the Monday meeting of the BOCC. Looks like under budget review, we have county clerk, and I see Stacy's online, but you're probably going to run with this to begin with.
Yes.
Okay,
Good morning. Kathy Funk Baxter, Finance Director. And today, we're going to let Susie Moon, our Finance Manager, do the presentation for the financials.
yeah,
Good morning, Susie Moon, Finance Manager. So we have two different funds to go over today for the Clerk's Department. Both of them are supported by the general fund, so revenues will not equal expenses. Our first fund or department is going to be 122-100, so intergovernmental revenues. It looks like we're slightly under budget right now, but we anticipate hitting budget. We have some fourth quarter billings that we need to do that will be accrued back to 2024. Goods and services, fines and penalties, and miscellaneous revenue have all exceeded our planned budget. Other financing sources, we do have some mental health billings that need to be performed. We're going to be researching this item a little more to make sure that we're not missing anything and that to see if they're lower due to any vacancies or anything like that. So it's possible we may not hit budget on that line item. Moving on to expenses, happy to say that we're under budget on all of the expense items. We do have one more payroll that needs to be done that will be posted against the personnel line item, but we're not anticipating hitting budget on the personnel or the services line item. It is possible we could hit budget on supplies and capital. Moving on to our last fund.
let me,
Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
going to back you up just a hair, just because goods and services, what comes in there?
I am not entirely sure. I'm going to let Kathy take the lead on that one.
Yeah, this is where, I think this is where, I'm not sure. I know the intergovernmental is where we have Blake and we have some federal child support funds. Goods and services, I might ask Stacy if she remembers what types of revenues come in on goods and services.
I mean, it's exceeding what we expected. I just, sometimes we have those where there's investment stuff
Yeah,
that is performed well. I don't think
miscellaneous.
That's it.
Yeah, miscellaneous is where investment income is at. Goods and services are typically contracts that are not state agency related.
So I think the goods and services is probably our filing fees in general. I'd have to look at this closer, but I think that's
Yes,
our filing fees, our copy code or our copy fees, just our miscellaneous things that we take cash for over the counter.
right.
Gotcha.
Those are yeah, you're right. You're right, Stacy. It's where your public is paying transactional fees.
So it's just been kind of a busy year then.
I'm always really conservative with the revenues because of the way that things have been shifting, especially like with the legal financial obligations, and everybody is motioning the court to waive those. So we're
Yeah.
seeing a lot of those waived. We're seeing a lot of filing fees waived for indigent people. So our revenue is something that is just so hard to predict. We never know. It's a shooting match to see how many cases we're even going to take in a year that are going to pay.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So our last fund, we're exceeding budget on both revenue streams. That's going to be licenses and permits and goods and services. And for expenses, we're currently under budget on all expenditure line items. Again, we have that one more payroll that needs to be posted. So that could be right on budget. And it's possible that we'll hit budget with supplies and services since they're just slightly under. And we still have, the accrual period to go through.
But we were not on neither one of these funds on clerk and courthouse facilitator. We don't anticipate we'll be over budget in any of our expenses.
Stacy, didn't we do some, we did some, I don't know, restructure is probably too strong a word, but you did some things different over there this year, didn't we? Different roles?
Are you talking about staff wise?
Yeah,
I think you're probably thinking about Superior Court. Superior Court did a huge shuffle where they got rid of a lead judicial assistant and made an office manager and got rid of one of their judicial assistant positions. We created an office manager this last year, but we haven't really restructured anything else other than that.
okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
That was it for the financials. If there's anything Stacy wants to add about operations.
I really don't have anything to add. We've just been business as usual over here, and I have meetings scheduled with both Commissioner Farrell and Commissioner Rader at the end of the month to fill them in on how things are working over here. And so if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. I can't hear you.
I said I'm good. Thanks, Stacy. Look
Oh.
forward to meeting you.
Let's try it again. I'm good.
Okay. I look forward to speaking with you further.
Okay,
Have a good day.
You too.
That's it. Very light day.
that was quick, so we don't have, Public Works till 10. So unless there's any miscellaneous, we can just recess till 10. Okay, we'll just recess till 10. The Public Work gets here. Okay, we're back in session. And we have Public Works. You had some excitement last week, huh?
We sure did. Do you want to start with that excitement?
No,
Okay,
I-
all right, great. I got to mentally prepare for that anyways, no. All right, so we do have a couple of items on the consent agenda, excuse me, and I'll start with that. Savannah Clement, Public Works. We have actually 2 contract closeouts on there for facilities. And I think the first one is the Weather Guard completion letter for the annex roof replacement.
Yeah.
And this one is, just a little different under different circumstances because we did have some risk items that resulted from that roof insulation. But as far as the roof completion and the necessary drains, that has been completed. And so when we do these contract completions, that's just our final okay that the job has been completed per a contract and our standards. And what that does is it tells the auditor's office they can release retainage as long as they've done, their due diligence with the state agencies. So we have 2 of those today. And this one, although we had issues resulting from its completion, it is complete.
It doesn't cause us any problem as we move down the path.
We actually went and kind of got the blessing from Risk before putting it through on the agenda to make sure we were okay, but because they're 2 separate, issues, we were okay doing that.
Okay.
We didn't want to unnecessarily hold payment, if we didn't have to, so. And then just before I close on that one, the total was approximately 208,000 for that total contract for that roof.
208, you said?
Yes.
Were we within budget on that one?
Yes, I believe we were at, was it 225-ish when we did an engineer's estimate? So it's less than the budgeted item and should be in par with the contract. And the other item that we have a contract completion was our Hall of Justice North Parking Lot Overlay Project, and that happened this fall. And we have also determined that that is completed for our standards in the contract. And the final contract amount on that was $110,000. So again, just closing that out so we can release their payment. And if there's no more questions on those two items, I will pass it off to Susan.
So good morning, Susan Eugenius, County Engineer. So continuing the contract completion theme, Public Works has two public work items on here. The contract completion for the 2024 Joint Agency Pavement Striping Project. This project was completed by, I've lost it, I didn't underline it. Specialized Pavement Markings. They have completed the project to our specifications. The original contract cost was, God, this is why I should have brought my glasses. We came in over the original contract amount because of a quantity increase. We added, so I'm not sure if you two were here when we had all the issues with the pavement out on Little Kalama River Road, where that pavement rolled up during the heat. That had already been striped by the striping company prior to that damage. So we had to add on here going back and restriping that roadway. In addition, we had reduced the number of roads we are striping this year, and we found a couple during the process that should not have been removed to the list. So that's why there's an increase over the original budget line item. It was additional work that we requested of the contractor. That's the total, but that's not the original bid. That's the number I couldn't read.
And Susan, if I remember correctly about that, we were looking into why the road peeled up the way that it did. Did we ever come to a conclusion with that?
We do not have a final conclusion on that. We're still suspicious of some of the oil and rock we were using when that one was overlaid. And added to that, the unusual heat for this part of the country, and it's south facing, so it was extra hot, and they were running fully loaded log trucks so that it peeled up. This is not as common of a practice in really warm locations. We don't usually get I believe it was 103 the day that it rolled up on a south face.
So do we contact the supplier of the gravel and the oil and stuff like that to determine if it was?
The problem was that was not done just the last year. It was multiple years prior. So I'd have to go back, and it would be hard to track that because of the timeline between when it was installed and when it occurred.
And have we switched, Susan, that type of oil since?
Yes, we have switched both the type of oil and the type of rock we're using. A lot of other agencies had already switched away from this type of oil and rock that we used during the teens, let's say, and we have switched away from that type of rock and oil and are now in line with what the state and Lewis County are using because they feel it's been more successful. And during our chip seal this summer when we were using it, we had way fewer problems than we had had in the years previous with some of the issues of just laying it and it rolling up like this. So we're thinking that it's a better product. We shouldn't be having these same issues.
So based on results after the change, you're comfortable with that was what the problem was the oil and the rock?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So if we have any more of these issues, they're probably ones that were done in that same time period.
Okay.
So the other item that we have is actually the 2024 countywide overlay with Lakeslide, their contract completion. And their original bid was $2,121,010. And we had a closeout amount of $2,230,871.96. And that relates back to adding that Little Kalama River Road, grinding, because we had to grind out some of it and then overlay it. So that is where that increase came on this project.
Susan, in a situation where we're gonna come in over the contract and we don't know it until the end, is there a process that we go through periodically throughout the contract, the project to make sure that we're coming in at budget? And if not, what's the process when they come back and say, hey, sorry, it was $30,000 over?
So during the process, we have an inspector on site every day, and they collect tickets with the contractors. So every time a truck comes in, the driver hands him a ticket saying that this load is X number of tons. So we're doing a weekly total, and so we do check weekly of, hey, we ran over on this road, and then kind of why did we run over? Was it extra wide? Did we do something special? Because sometimes there'll be ruts in the road, so in order to get a even 2-inch overlay, it takes more because they're filling in the ruts, because the way they run that machine is they set it at a level and it lays out the asphalt along that screed level. So we do try and keep track of it. Some roads we run under, some we run over, but we're usually pretty close.
What did we spend on striping? Somewhere around 800,000,
Yes, we were at 775 this year.
and we're still kind of evaluating if it makes sense to buy a machine.
Correct. We should be bringing that February or March, but we will, so this year we will go out to bid again for
Yeah,
physical striping due to the timing.
we've just seen the cost of paint and different stuff rise pretty quickly over the last several years, so Public Works felt it would be prudent to take a look what it would be if we did our own machine, just as a comparison.
Sure.
I think that concludes all of our agenda items for tomorrow.
No,
No?
that was the consent agenda items.
I do have a miscellaneous, so I'll switch out after Sean.
Okay. So I will continue with the Public Works motion items while Sean's getting settled. So I'm skipping around. I'm skipping to number 8, which is the amendment number 4 to the professional services agreements for RH2 engineering. This is an amendment of $91,886 to increase their contract. This is additional work that we've requested from them. There is a minor bit of work to go back and capture some of the extra work they did for us due to some unknown conflicts with the Williams pipeline. So we had to go back, and they did a few extra hours of work in there. The rest of the money is for additional services during the pre-bid and the construction support services. So construction support services generally are not done at the beginning of the contract, because once it's designed, they have a better idea of how many different materials submittals they're going to have to review. So for a public works job, for a road job, our construction manager generally does the reviews, because there's pretty standard items that asphalt, pipe, geotextile, and the spec book says XYZ, and there's a list that WashDOT keeps published of items that that you can just accept. Okay, they're using this item from this manufacturer. It's been approved by WashDOT. We just sign off on it. But on a project such as this water system, where we're having a whole pump station and pressure relief valves, we rely more on the consulting engineer who designed it to look at what the contractors put in, saying, I'm going to use valve A from company C, which is slightly different than what's specified, but it meets the tolerances. So we pay our consultant to review those, because that's their field of expertise. So that is what this increase is for, and for time that they're going to spend out on site inspecting the installation of the pump station and some of the observations under this pressure line to make sure they're putting the connections in correctly. So that is why we're requesting the contract amendment of 91,000.
What was the original expiration date on that contract?
The original expiration date was, can you read that for me, please? I didn't bring my glasses. They are in my purse. But the original expiration was for the design contract, and we are going out a year later than we anticipated for bids. So I'm guessing the expiration was 2024. Oh, it was originally 2025, so we just extend it. It was the end of 2025, and we're just extending it in case we have some long lead items for June, so that we didn't have to come back again. So that was the idea behind it. The lead time is our concern, so. You have no more questions on that item. I'll give you to Sean for the other Public Works and Facility items.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sean Rowley, Public Works. Motion item number 7 is a bid award to Coastal Knitting Systems for the purchase of 10 portable litter fences for the headquarters landfill, a total cost of $71,512.80. This was bid out last year, closed on December 31st. These were for 10 24 by 15-foot tall portable litter fences that are moved by the front end of a dozer blade. These are to catch wind-blown debris off the open fill of the landfill itself. We had 4 bids on this, ranging from the $71,512 to $133,000, and we recommend that we move forward on this bid. If there's any questions on that.
Tony, describe the fencing, the size of this thing, and how do they move it from location to location?
Yeah, so they're 24 feet wide, 15 feet tall, and then they have a caved wire mesh behind them of steel. And so on the front end, they have 2 hooks that a dozer would come in with their machine, hook it on the front end of the dozer blade, and then move it around as appropriate with the equipment itself.
So how do they keep it upright, given the fact that that landfill is not necessarily flat, level ground?
Yeah, so the base itself has outriggers that come out the backside of it to protect against wind. These are, my understanding is up to and past 45-mile-per-hour winds up there, and those are similar gusts that we see on a pretty often basis.
Okay.
What's the lifespan of those things?
So the frame itself should be quite a long time. The wire mesh, as is damaged or other things happen there, the manufacturers I've talked to have said about 10 years of life on the mesh itself before a new one's welded in.
These are set to catch any flying debris,
Yes, sir. We're gonna
probably required of us, I would.
yes,
assume.
sir. Keep it in the fill itself and try and limit as much wind-blown debris outside of the open face, mainly plastic bags that catch the wind.
You'll catch anything within reason.
Yeah.
Get a tornado through it, no claims there.
Yeah, I tried to explain to people that it takes a lot to run that landfill. There's a lot of things that you have to comply with and do that I don't think the majority of people understand. They just think you're bringing in money.
Yeah, so, and we're starting with 10 and seeing how that goes. We may ask for more in the future, depending on the need. And then the second item, if there's no more questions on that one, is item number 9 from Facilities Maintenance. If you remember back in November of last year, we went out for quite a few of on-call bid items for facilities maintenance. And then at the same time, we also went through and updated our purchasing policy. And through that process, we were able to increase some of our limits to higher values. So at that point in time, quite a few of the items we had on our on-call list were no longer needed because those values were high enough that we didn't felt those were needed anymore. And so we're coming back with 2 items to award to the contractors here. The first one is to Core Solutions for electrical services. And the second one is to WeatherGuard for roof and repair and maintenance. Both of those not to exceed $100,000 apiece, and those would be on an on-call as needed basis.
I'm good.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Okay, good morning again. Sean just handed out some images of the location of our sewer line, approximately where we're seeing some issues there. The first one is the intersection. The second one is actually, I've circled the manhole on the street. Can't really see it through the image. And then the arrow is actually pointing out our pump house that's there. The location of this main sewer line is a little different in terms of being a county maintain item because it is located on Industrial Way. Sorry, go ahead. I'll let Susan.
It is in the industrial area. Does that help?
You can see Industrial Way on the road. That's
It's an
hence my-
international,
or International
it's
Way.
international way, not an industrial way.
I'm just gonna drink my coffee.
So this system is on International Way. It serves the main port building, their new facility down there, and some other industrial customers down there. This has been our system for a while, and it is the portion of the system besides leachate that is served by Turwa. So on Thursday, the water sewer crew started getting, had received a couple calls from some of our customers down there stating that they were starting to have issues flushing their toilets, and they thought we had a plug of our sewer line. So the water sewer crew went down there to try and clean it. They determined that with our equipment, they were unable to do so, and were requesting that management bring forward an emergency. So Mike and I called Commissioner Dahl stating that we had potentially a break down on the International Way or a collapse. So this sewer main is 9 feet deep, which is not work that is usually done by our water, sewer, or road crews. And because we need to maintain operating sewage for our customers and prevent sewage spills for public health and safety, we requested that the emergency be approved. Once we receive that approval, we start working on the paperwork, which will be pushed forward through another meeting. So there is part of our purchasing policy is there's a form that a person will request, and there are certain department heads that are able to sign them with the chairman's approval. So you will see that document along with an emergency resolution, which we're just finalizing the typing up on that, and then an emergency contact. We reached out to AES because they have given us good help in the past to see if they were available to help us excavate down to this main and make a repair. So once we had the approval, Thursday, we set up a temporary sewage bypass so that the businesses could stay down there working. We finalized, so they had a small system running Thursday night. We finalized that installation on Friday with AES bringing in pumps that are on a good timer system, so they throttle up and down so they're not pumping unnecessarily. The decision was made that not to try and repair it over the weekend because we were unsure of what we were going to find when we dug down. Is it going to be a little hole that's a Band-Aid, or are we going to have to chase it up and down for 100 feet? We don't know the answer. I might in the next little bit because they are out there today digging down and getting us eyes on what is actually going on out there. So we hope to have a solution This sewer main is larger than a 12-inch diameter. There is some discussion whether it's a 15-inch or an 18-inch. Some sizes are easier than others to get replacement parts. So that was the other concern, digging down. If they didn't have the standard parts on their shelf, that we would have an open hole with open sewer. We do have 2 lanes of traffic maintained down there because International Way is wide enough that we can do so. We have shut off the parking in that area.
In situations like this, I'm assuming this is an older system, since you said that we don't typically go down 9 feet. Do we have record of the equipment and the installation stuff that's used so that we know in the future what it is and if we have it in stock, in inventory?
So in general, we do have record drawings for all. We keep a copy of everything that we install. So we have the inverts and what material was used and the sizes. The issue with this, we do keep on our shelf, like for a lot of our sewer pump stations, let's say, that are smaller, the small submersible pumps, so that if something does happen, if they're a cost-effective item, we will have one sitting so that we can just go and change it out. The issue with this is the depth. We don't keep shoring boxes. We don't have a long reach backhoe, and it's not work that we do regularly. And International Way area always concerns me for excavating. I don't know. In Longview and Kelso, there are some soils that we have a lot of boiling sand. Then you have other sands that just harden up so much that you can't dig through them easily. So having a larger construction company that has a lot of experience working in those kind of fields to go with the changing conditions is helpful also. Our crews tend to do laterals and line replacements that are 3 to 4 feet deep so that we're not down below work they're not comfortable with.
So how big of a hole do they have to open up to start with?
So to start with, they'll open up a hole if they get lucky and they're right on top of it. So the bucket width, so it'll probably be 2 bucket widths wide. So you're looking at 3 to 5 feet wide, and the hole going down will be 10 feet deep. And they're going to run the length until they find the damage. If they get lucky, they could hit it right away, and there'll be a 5 or 10 foot length. But we'll just have to see.
You can't get a camera down there or some way to try and locate roughly where it's at?
We have a good idea where it was at because there was some work going on. There was a boring that occurred, so we believe that that the damage is in that location. So that's where we're starting.
Okay.
Because there was a bore done about Monday or Tuesday of last week for a new gas lateral, a 4-inch gas lateral. And we're pretty sure that's where the damage is.
Okay, so back to does the county have a camera system or something that they could, or somebody stick down there and actually see?
So we do not currently have a track camera. We do have a push camera. There are people that have the track cameras that we have sent down lines. Beacon Hill, we have an interlocal, and they have tracked cameras some of our lines. So that is what we've done in the past.
Okay,
I'm pretty confident that the location problem is where this bore occurred.
That was the thought on Thursday, I think. Cascade Natural Gas was doing some boring and hit that. They'd ask us to locate, but we missed this?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
And if it is the boring that caused it, do we go to Cascade and ask for reimbursement on any expenses that we incurred to fix it?
So if we had located it properly, yes, because it's in the locate laws that if it's located properly and they still hit it, then the person doing the work. But if it is not located properly, then it is the owner of the pipe that was hit or the utility that was hit to cover the cost of the damage.
So what's the tolerance for location? You have to be within 2 feet of center of the line or something?
I believe it's up to 5 until, it's somewhere between 3 and 5. I don't know it off the top of my head, that it's supposed to be within. So 5 feet both sides. I will verify that number for you, off the,
Well, also,
Okay.
how did they know the depth of the line when this all happened?
I'm unsure. They could have pulled that manhole that Savannah referenced to say, okay, the pipe invert is 9 feet down. So if we stay above it substantially, we should be fine. So I'm assuming they did that. Most contractors, if you have locates out there, they do potholing. So they'll cut the asphalt and they'll dig down to determine where it is exactly at that location.
We are still investigating it, but it's my understanding that the contractor did do the measurements from the manhole, from what I've gathered, but we're still trying to kind of track down the information with our staff and the company.
So for clarification purposes, Chairman, you said we were incorrect on the location that we gave them?
No, there was no location given.
There was no location
There's
given.
no locate.
Yes.
Did we get noticed to do the location?
Normally, yes, we're still trying to track all that information down with staff.
So investigation is still underway.
Correct.
Yes, that part is still under investigation, but we are going ahead with the repairs.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd rather have brought better news, like I found a pile of gold when we were digging for a sewer, but that never happens. Hit an oil well, haven't done that one yet either.
When people's toilets don't work, it's amazing how fast they call you.
It really is.
Then the only other item I have is a miscellaneous item, just to notify the board. We had a theft occur on Thursday late afternoon of our side-by-side unit at our Parks Department at Riverside Park. It was in front of the shop area, and a person took the side-by-side. The keys were not in the ignition. They located the keys in the vehicle, took it, abandoned it in a field that was nearby. Of course, police were called. They were able to locate the side-by-side undamaged, thankfully, and actually arrested the person who had taken it. And we actually got the keys back as well. And so I know it was on social media. I got a personal phone call after work about it. So I just want to make sure that the board was aware as well that that occurred. More news. Say
Somebody
good
got to
news.
joyride for a little while.
Yeah.
It was an interesting situation. If, I believe there's criminal charges, so I don't want to, I mean, it's interesting. Perhaps a mental health issue going on.
I shouldn't tell this story I have a nephew and he carries the same name as me and I love him dearly, but he struggles with substance abuse. And he used to go to a park and ride and he'd hotwire a car and he'd take it and play with it all night and then bring it back. He called it Rick's Rides.
The name is catchy. I mean,
Yeah.
be a future retirement business name. I don't know.
Okay, thanks. Got, you know, if Jessica has anything today? Oh. So we'll just move right into 11 o'clock if, I think everybody here? That you expected here? Okay.
Good morning, Jessica Warren, Human Resources. I just have one item for the board, and that's a request for an executive session performance of a public employee for 5 minutes.
Performance of public employee. 5 minutes, executive session?
Yep.
Okay, we will adjourn for that. Okay, we're back from executive session. No decisions rendered. I'll turn it back over to Jessica.
Hello again. I have a request from Public Works. They're requesting to start their construction manager position, which is going to an internal candidate at step 5 of salary grade 535, which was $74.22 a month.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Great.
Thank you, commissioners. Yes, sorry. And since this is going to an internal candidate, they're requesting to fill that position. Engineer Tech 3, Construction Inspector. And include any domino in that because that could potentially go to another candidate,
It could domino all the way down, right?
potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
How long would you estimate before you fill the spot that he is vacating?
So the union postings go to the union for 5 working days. And at that point in time, depending on signers and whatnot, that could be filled.
Okay,
Okay,
Thank you,
Thank you.
commissioners.
Thank you.
have a good day.
so do we want to head into these? This is, we're starting, yeah, this is new. We traditionally, we have, I don't know how many committees we have, but basically committees are written in RCW somewhere, so we end up with the committee and putting people on those. In the past, we would get an application, each commissioner would get a copy of the application and they'd either approve or disapprove. If you got 2 out of 3, the person sat. And I always found it a little odd because I didn't know a lot about the committees when I first started. I didn't know a lot about the people. We got into a couple situations where we got criticized because we weren't timely. So actually, I think one of the first things we did is made a decision to bring these into our Monday meetings and try to, so we can better educate ourselves what we're looking for on these committees and stay on top of this. And I know Kelly's instituted some notification protocols that should keep us out of some of the criticism. So this is new and a work in progress. And I think the 3 we're looking at today is historic preservation, planning, and homeless housing.
And, right, and we're just here for the first 2 items.
Okay,
The Historic Committee, Preservation Committee, we currently have 5 voting members and 1 non-voting. And 2 of the positions are up for, to be filled. Their term is up. And we have, I believe there's 5 applications for the position. You guys have, I believe, have copies of them. The 2 that are, their term is up, they both have interest in being reappointed to the committee. They are a good asset, and we would like to, if the boards would be so kind, to either reappoint or we do need the bodies and the positions, but we would really like to be the 2 to be reappointed, if that would be okay.
what do we ask this committee to do?
You want to take over?
Yeah, the Historic Preservation Commission, again, I'm Adam Trimble, Building Planning. The Historic Preservation Commission has numerous responsibilities. Their primary one is to consider buildings and places that could be added to the Register of Historic Places for our local county register. But our county commission has kind of a long accomplishment list of creating projects that really bring attention to our county's history, the people and the places that make it special and helped develop it into what it is. And there's been numerous successful grant projects that produced informational brochures, pamphlets. We have a couple interactive websites. We have a series of videos on county history, special places in the county. And we just completed the Cowlitz County Grange project, which did a survey of all the remaining granges in the county, accompanied with a report, and have successfully secured additional grant funding to potentially emphasize the contribution of the granges in the county. So that's kind of the short version of their duties.
We also have the museum as part of our historic preservation, so we do work hand in hand with our county museum as well.
So just to clarify, the two that are seeking reappointment, you feel that they have played a valuable contributing role to the current committee?
Yes, they've been pretty active in the committee.
Okay. Have you guys spoken to the other two candidates? Or the other two?
They don't apply to us, they apply to the board, so we don't interview or talk to them.
Okay.
Is Mr. Williamson the current chair? Is he
Yes.
the one we've been getting? I've had a couple emails that people are concerned about some of the things he's doing.
Yes.
We looked at that
It
at
was,
all? Is he,
it was looked at and Adams had discussions with that person, yes.
so was he looking at things that were outside purview?
My impression is that it's a personal matter, and it has, because the parties involved, they know his involvement with this group, and they have tried to make it a matter for the county, but it's not a county matter. There's no overlap with the duties of the county commission, the Historic Preservation Commission, or the personal matter that we've been hearing about.
Okay, so I'm still confused. Is he staying within the concept of what we want him to do on this?
For the Historic Preservation Committee, yes. The other stuff is outside of the committee as a personal citizen.
Yeah, it's a dispute.
So I see 3 District 3s. How many positions are available for District 3?
We have 2.
2?
Again, if his, what people were complaining about is outside the purview of the committee, I'm confused why that would be an issue.
Yeah, it's very close. So it's easy to say, yeah, this should be a dispute that centers on what you're involved with here at the county, but the reality is there isn't a connection. None of his properties or anything to do with the dispute is on the county register, so it's not a matter of county jurisdiction.
And was he presenting it as such? Is that where there's?
No, I think he'd prefer to keep it a dispute that's handled privately. But the other parties are trying to make it something that he has to answer for publicly.
Okay.
The gist, if I can remember right, is they felt like he's trying to make personal gain out of something that historic stuff. I don't know. I haven't attended any of those, so I don't know the gentleman. Do you know how long he's been on there?
I believe this is his second term, so
And the terms are for how long?
3 years.
And you feel that in you feel that in spite of that, he's still a valuable asset to the committee.
Yeah, it takes a bit of time to get up to speed on historic preservation matters. So these are volunteers. They do often come with a passion and interest in history. But, you know, we actually invest time in training them. Through our board work, we ask a lot of them to pull off the projects that we pulled off to be able to accomplish the things, and that's not necessarily falling on staff. The commissioners on this board actually bring forth and do a lot of the work to bring the kind of attention and respect to the contributions of this county.
We're open to any recommendations that our board has on the appointments.
So just so I understand this, there are applications for different districts, but there's only 2 applications or 2 openings within District 3, and that's it, right? No other districts have any openings?
Correct, at this
Okay.
time, yes.
Okay.
Okay, well, you have 2 openings in District 3 and you have 3 applicants. So I will just, how long has Mr. Ogden been on there?
I believe this will be his 3rd term. And so he's somebody who's heavily involved with the local granges and brings a lot to our Grange project that we're in the middle of.
And Miss Serber, she's brand new.
Yeah, that, she was a new applicant. That is correct.
I have a former colleague that liked to give new people a chance.
And her application says District 1. And I don't know.
It.
In
on-
Beloit.
Now it's scratched.
Corrected to District
Mine is
3.
scratched out and says 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is mine. Yeah. So she is District 3? Is that correct?
I don't know about Beloit.
Her address is for her living in District 3.
Okay.
I know that her interest was the longest and the most. She-
Amen, yeah.
Yeah, she really
She was
put a lot
very,
into that.
yes.
Well. I'll put a check on, I'll put my initials on Mr. Ogden and Miss Serber.
Does this decision have to be made today, or can we make this decision next week? I would like
If you
to,
want to research it, we can look at it.
yeah, I'd like to be able to talk to the other the 2 candidates.
Which
Here-
2 do you want to talk to?
I'd like to talk to Bernard and Ms. Serber.
Here's what I would say, if it's so, now that we've brought it into public, I think when you make your decisions, you just mark it and give it to Kelly from
Oh, okay.
there. How would that be
Yep,
okay?
that's
Instead of
good.
spending more time in here on it?
Yep.
Okay, so Kelly knows where I stand on District 3, as you gentlemen decide to let her know, and then they'll figure that out. District 1, is there an opening there?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, so we disregard that. And District 2, there's no opening
Correct.
available there, so.
Those are full. So then
Okay,
the,
so you just wait on,
we'll wait and Yep.
District 3, you have my votes on it, and then
Yep.
we'll figure those.
we'll know what the board does.
Okay,
The other item we're here for is Planning Commission appointment. We have a current existing member of our Planning Commission who is looking to be reappointed for District 1.
she's the only one that's,
Has applied, yes, and she's the only one that's up this year.
I tried to get her, or I put a request out to have her come in and sit down a little bit and chat with her, because well, I'll just be honest, I started going to planning commission meetings, and I don't, you guys know, I absolutely fight if we try to impose new regulations on the public. And she was very adamant about having building and planning develop an ordinance for dark sky something or other. And it really kind of set me wrong. I think she's worked out of that, and I wanted to chat with her because she's a smart person, and she has some good input, but I'm really not a fan of people that want to put more regulations on the public. But I think I get the impression she's kind of gets that and is moving on. And like I said, I think she's smart, and I wanted to spend a little time with her, but I haven't had any response. So I think she probably
We know
do
what
just
dark-
fine. She offers some good input. She knows the area, but we are heading into a season. This next group of planning commission folks are gonna be looking at redoing our county plan, and there's a potential for a lot of new regulation. I mean, the state's gonna want some, right?
I'm not familiar with dark sky. Do you know what that is, or what they believe in?
Different lighting, so it doesn't light up the sky is the best I can tell.
Yeah.
Restrictions on the type of lights you can use.
The lighting
around
for
your
certain
properties and
developments.
stuff.
Like street lights
Yeah.
and
House lights,
sign, business
outside,
sign?
outside. Mhm.
Yeah, it's about the idea that you should be able to see the stars if you live out in the country. And, you know, your lighting choice and the shielding that you use. So
Okay.
probably better as like a voluntary or just a pamphlet people could consider if they want to, but to make a regulation would be, it'd be one of the few that we have.
So that's just me being upfront with you. I kind of started off on a little bit of a bad taste about that when I heard that, but I think she has a better understanding of where we want to go, and she is a bright person, and she's smart, and she has some things to offer. So I'm okay reappointing her because I think there's been some movement. I'm just giving you some history
Sure.
so you know what I saw.
What's the process of, if that committee, something's brought before that committee, do they have to vote on it to bring it to the board for a vote? I mean, is she a lone
They-
wolf in that and she can get over?
Yeah, they will, planning commission will look at, like developments or different ordinance or different things, and then they'll form a recommendation, and the recommendation comes to the three of us.
Okay.
I will put my name on there. I just
Yep.
offer that hesitation, a little bit of hesitation.
Yeah. Well, given the fact that she won't be able to do anything on her own unilaterally, I'm one who I like to have people that oppose my viewpoint so that I have a different point of reference and understanding of people's things. And as long as we're the ones that make the final decision on that, Chairman, as you said, if she does bring good info and she's smart, I'd be okay with reinstating her.
I'll go along with that.
Okay?
Thank you.
Last one we have is, homeless housing tax task force. I see Gina is on there.
Good
You-
morning.
Do you actually have an opening there or?
We do. We currently have 11 members, and this particular group can have up to 15.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we do. We have there's just a few required membership, required spots, but those are filled. So the remaining slots are open.
What it, kind of give us, yeah, maybe the Reader's Digest version of what homeless housing, what they look at?
Sure. So the Homeless Housing Task Force is a statute requirement for administering the document recording fees. We are required as a county to have a 5-year plan to address homelessness in the county. When we're looking at the revenue that comes in with document recording fees that is designated for housing and homeless services, in order to allocate that funding, it has to be something that is identified on that 5-year plan to address homelessness. This particular advisory board, the Homeless Housing Task Force, part of their primary role is to give input on the development of that plan.
So they put input and with a lot of work from you, I'm sure, to develop
Yeah.
this plan, and then it comes to the commissioners for approval.
Yes. And so
then if the commissioners adopt this plan, then you try and bring us projects using doc reporting fees that kind of sync with that plan. Is that? in a
yes,
nutshell?
it can happen different ways. Sometimes we'll bring something up. Sometimes organizations come to us, or the board. So it kind of happens in different ways, but that is kind of in a nutshell how it works. We're just getting ready to develop a new 5-year plan. So we've kind of come to the end of our previous one, and we've received some different and new guidance from the state that we have to incorporate in our new plan. So this particular group, they meet once a month. They'll be busy this year, and we hope to have a new plan draft ready to bring to the board in the fall.
Gina, with those members that are currently on the committee, how many of them are citizens? And are we planning on filling the rest with citizens, or what's the plan there?
So there are 2 representatives from the city of Longview. There's 1 representative from the city of Kelso. We have a county representative, which is a required membership, along with the rep from the city of Longview as a required membership. We're required to have an individual who has had lived experience. So an individual who has been homeless in their past. So we have individual there, and the rest are general public positions. So it's just kind of a variety of community members. We don't have to have 15 members. That's just sort of the up to number that was in resolution for this advisory board.
Is there a minimum number you have to have?
I don't believe there's a minimum, just a max.
Okay.
Yeah.
And anytime the commissioners want to sit in on us, I know Arn came and sit in quite regularly, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Anytime you're welcome. They're open to the public meetings. Arn always sat in on the meetings. So we would welcome any of you to come if you'd like.
And that probably goes without saying, that applies to any of these committees. You're always welcome.
So do you feel that it would be in the committee's best interest to have another position filled?
But, we're always open to hearing from different perspectives and new ideas. This particular time with this group is, it's a good time to get, some different perspectives and ideas because of the work we'll be doing with that plan. So, we welcome new members. It gets a little hard when you get up. I think only once it's happened where we've had 15 members, and it does get a little more challenging to have conversations where you're trying to, steer a big group of people and have the conversations about the plan and kind of get to a point where everybody agrees on something. But I mean, that's kind of the purpose of the group. So
Herding cats.
yeah.
Okay, well, I've known this person, so I'm okay with this person.
I agree.
I have too, for a while.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay. I see Flo out in the audience. I'll be reaching out to you soon. Okay.
okay, thanks, Gina, appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
If there's, oh. I don't know if you've had a chance, did you see Doug's reply on that shooting ordinance?
Yeah.
He kind of put, and I sent a note back to him and said, well, you kind of answered what I wanted to know. I was concerned if it had any, inadvertent effects that we weren't.
Right.
I don't want to try and solve what kind of looks like a neighborhood dispute
Mm-hmm.
through a law thing. And it sounds like you might be opening up a can of worms. At least Thurston County opened up a can of worms. It sounded like when they
Yeah.
tried to address that. So I didn't know if you want to think about it longer, if you wanted him to do any further, or we just.
I actually sent him a message this morning that, because I agree with you. And I thought it might be something that if we had questions, we can have a workshop on it and talk to him about it. My feeling on it is that, I don't know, I believe that there are certain issues that citizens just need to work out within themselves and not look to the government to solve all their stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of them.
Okay.
My gut reaction was just leave it alone.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll just do that.
Okay.
I think that sounds fair. Okay. Nothing else. We'll adjourn till tomorrow morning. Thanks, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Yep.